Diego Pavia will catapult Vanderbilt into a historic season. I'm going to tell you why. It's Locked On Vandy.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. Shout out to all of you lovers out there. That's LOV, Locked On Vandy, for those of you keeping score at home. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. So this is going to be a fun one, right? Because we just had a media day. The coordinators got a chance to talk. Some of the players got a chance to talk. And, you know, I think they were very candid. And I think this is the first year they've done something like this. And this was good as far as information goes. I think as far as being transparent, or as transparent as they possibly can be, I think it's going to be really, really good. I think they have some good things in place. They're saying all the right things. It's just, there's a different feel around the program, right? And it's, to me, if I'm being excited about the season, the NCAA just came out with, or the committee, the College Football Playoff Committee, came out with a ruling that they're going to look at strength of schedule. So how does that affect Vanderbilt? We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Steve Gregory, what he had to say. I think the more I hear him speak and the more I hear his story and where he's from and what his background is, the more excited I am with him taking over this defense. Langston Patterson is going to be a huge part of that as well. He's going to drive it. And, I think there's going to be some resolution at the safety position, at least for week one. And then, of course, the offense, man, I think they're going to thrive. I think they're going to go off this year. But a lot of that is trying to protect Pavia through a lot of different things, right? Or protecting Pavia and Stowers and, just trying to get their assets, help maintain the health of their assets, build depth along the way, which they've been doing in fall camp, which there's been some bumps in the road, admittedly, but I think there's a lot of great things happening. So protecting Pavia obviously is the number one key. I think had he not gotten, and this is not an excuse, okay? This is just a fact. Had he not got hurt against Kentucky, I think it would have been a different season. I think you beat South Carolina, LSU, or Tennessee. I think you win at least one of those games, maybe two, probably not all three. That's a little bit ambitious of a prediction, but I think you do get one of those, because what he does best, he wasn't able to do because he was banged up. Now he gritted through a lot of that stuff, and I think it also showed him that he's going to have to develop his game further if he's going to be able to adjust to that, because football is a violent game. He plays an extremely aggressive style with his running ability. He takes a lot of shots. Like, he's got to hone his craft as a quarterback, because he's got to be able to affect the game in different ways. And I think he unfortunately learned that the hard way last year when he was limited and he couldn't do that. I think all great players have to figure out different ways to affect games, right? They have to find different ways to win and different ways to turn their weaknesses into, well, I don't know if I want to say turn weaknesses into strengths, but I think minimize your weaknesses and overplay your strengths, right? Every great quarterback does it. Every great football player does it to a certain degree, as much as they can. Every great basketball player, baseball player, you name it, they're constantly developing the weaker parts of their game so that those weak parts aren't necessarily weak. They're not as prevalent. They're not, they're able to get through when their best is stopped. Like Diego Pavia getting injured, his best traits are stopped. So that leads me to one of the things he's been working on, and one of the keys, I think, the takeaways from Coach Beck speaking to the media are this: like, protecting Pavia through design. I think they're going to be more intentional in making sure that he's out on the field, making sure that Eli Stowers is healthy and out on the field, and making sure they're creating more of a balanced attack on offense. So when I say balance, I'm not saying like 50% run, 50% pass. I'm talking like the Mike Leach definition, rest in peace, Pirate. The Mike Leach definition of balance, which is get the ball to your playmakers, define who those guys are, and make sure you get the ball to them equally, right? Because if you have three playmakers, those three guys need to touch the ball, right? If you have one, obviously you want to feed him as much as possible, but you've got to find those guys. You've got to create situations to where other guys can affect the game. And if you can do that, I think that's where that next step comes in, right? Now, I'm in no way comparing Vanderbilt to the 80s and 90s Chicago Bulls, but the dynamic of it is this. The Bulls were just a really good team until they developed weapons outside of Michael Jordan. And the point of this is if Diego Pavia is going to have a similar effect for Vanderbilt, I'm not saying he's going to be the greatest football player of all time. So before you jump on me about that, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the effect that he has on the game. If it's just him, it's not going to work. It's got to be other things. And I think they're going to try to manufacture that through design. And I think they went out and got some pieces at wide receiver, obviously rebuilding the offensive line and creating some depth there to be able to get guys in there fresh and know what to do. So here's four things I came up with. The evolution of the offense has got to be important. And if they're going to have a historic season, which the NCAA is incorporating strength of schedule now, if they're going to have a chance, they had a chance at 9 games last year. They had a chance at 9 regular season games last year. If they're going to have a shot at that again, these are some things I feel like need to happen, right? And protecting Diego Pavia via play design, structure. So like having different personnel groups, development of weapons, all that stuff. Like I think them being versatile, I think this offense being versatile is going to be a game changer. I think it's going to be able to be used as a weapon. I think teams are going to be on their heels, and I think their whole overall philosophy, I think, is also trying to find true balance between being explosive and being a control offense, right? Last year, they had to be a control offense. If they wanted any chance of winning, they had to control the ball. They had to eat clock. And they did. They did a great job of that 7 times. They controlled the ball 7 times. They almost, and I think against Texas, there were stretches where they controlled the ball, but they didn't do it enough. And in their losses, they didn't do it enough. Or too little, too late, or some combination of both, right? So it's that. They have to figure out ways, like different personnel groups, keeping things off balance, having multiple guys that can contribute, having Cedric Alexander, MK Young, AJ Newberry when he finally kind of gets going, which will probably realistically be midseason, coming off an ACL injury. Like he'll be able, I mean, obviously he's able to practice and be able to do things full speed, but like, is he going to be effective coming off an injury like that? I just don't think so early in the season. As it goes on, mentally, maybe he kind of gets through some of those barriers, because it's a mental, there's like a mental block when you have an ACL tear. So every athlete goes through it. It's just a normal thing. And he will experience that. So he probably won't be as effective early, but again, it's a long season. 12 games doesn't seem that long, but it is a long stretch. So AJ Newberry will have plenty of opportunity to contribute there. So building personnel groups, building weapons, building all of that is going to be there. And pocket awareness is key for him. I think Tim Beck was praising him and also saying it's a good and bad thing that his pocket awareness, often he has really good awareness of when the rush is coming and knowing when to bail. I think sometimes I think the downside of that, what Tim Beck was saying, is that he bails too soon, and sometimes he just doesn't let things develop. And I think to take the next level as a passer and to take the next level in this offense, defenses aren't going to let him bail as much. They're gonna combat that a little bit. So he's gonna have to hang in there sometimes. He's gonna have to take a shot. He's gonna have to throw one while staring down the barrel of a rush and just getting destroyed. Right? He's going to have to deliver a ball, and hopefully somebody other end catches it and makes it worth it. But there's going to be scenarios where that happens, where he's going to take some shots in the pocket, but he's going to have to hang in there and have to have that pocket awareness to where he knows it's coming, but he also knows, or he can also anticipate where his route concepts are going to break open, and he doesn't necessarily panic. Some of it was great pocket awareness, escaping rush, being elusive. Some of it was, oh crap, there's somebody near me, I got to bail out now. And I think sometimes that led him into some troublesome situations. So just developing that, which I think he's doing, is going to be key there. So that's going to help Diego Pavia, again, take that next level, add that extra element to his game where he is not a pocket passer, as we know yet. But if that element develops in his game, he will be very, very dangerous. All right. They feel like they have wide receivers to become a more vertical threat. I think Tim Beck alluded to the fact they needed to push the ball down the field more, being more aggressive. I think at times when they did that against other teams, that was really effective. That was like, those things are like, even if you don't complete all of them, like you don't have to be 100% completing your deep shots. I don't even think you have to be 50% necessarily. I think just the willingness to push it downfield, you're going to have some shots. With the run game the way it is, with Eli Stowers how he is, you're going to have opportunities to push it down the field. Now, they feel like they have guys that can do it. You get in the red zone, you feel like you can take some shots to the back pylon because you feel good about Trent Hudson going up and getting it. You feel good about Junior Sherrill. You feel good about Richardson, Trey Richardson getting out there and really pushing it vertical down the field. I think you have some guys that you feel good about. So are they going to be more aggressively taking shots down the field? Yes, you could probably expect that. They probably want to do that. But again, how does it balance? How does it flow with their overall philosophy? And then, of course, finding the balance, again, like I just said, between being explosive and controlling the ball and the clock. Brock Taylor is going to help a lot in that decision-making there. I think there's going to be some scenarios where they know they're going to get points, so they could probably run the ball. Like, there's going to be scenarios where they know they can get extra conservative because they know they got guaranteed 3 points and they're going to choose some clock. There's going to be some times where they know they can take some shots. They're going to get points anyway. So why not just go for broke? Like, there's going to be scenarios where, like, Brock Taylor's such a weapon that I think you're going to be able to dictate more of the tempo. So that's going to be good. That's going to be really good for this team and what they want to do. So I'm very excited about that. I think just them being overall more aggressive, while not getting completely away from their overall philosophy. I think you can be more aggressive, but not turn into, and I'm not saying anything's wrong with the Josh Heupel offense. I actually, as a coach, like it. I think he moves probably a little too fast for my liking, though. I can see where it's effective. I can see where it works, but like, I don't think that's necessarily a good thing. I think your ability to control when you want to, or being able to do that if you want to, is the trait I'm more interested in. Like, being able to control the tempos and say, okay, we can go fast if we want to, we can slow it down if we want to. Like, we can kind of, like, being able to have that kind of control on the pace of the game is just kind of where I think it's all, I think that's where all the chips are. I think that's where everything is, being able to have that control. And Vanderbilt, in their 7 wins, had that control, and that's what they seek. But now I think the next level to that is just being able to say, okay, well, we want to push the ball downfield. We're going to push the ball downfield, and we're going to create those opportunities for ourselves. That's what's going to help push that thing to the next level. That's what's going to help get this team. If I'm saying historic season, like these are things offensively that I think will help this team move forward, right? And these are things that will, be the catalyst that ignites this thing. And that's where Vanderbilt fans are going. That's where the South End Zone is going to go freaking crazy, right? So defensively, the more I hear Steve Gregory talk, the more I read about his background. I'm very, very excited about what he has to offer for this defense. I think it's going to be amazing. Most loaded production, most loaded defensive roster I think we've ever had. It's going to be fun, man. It's going to be fun over there on that side of the ball. I'm going to tell you why next. Hey, we're back with Rugiet. Yeah, guys, you probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet Ready. Rugiet Ready is the next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rugiet's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast on average in 15 minutes. Effects can last up to 36 hours, so you stay confident and in control when the moment is right. If traditional options haven't worked, Rugiet might be the answer. Over 150,000 men have already made the switch. And I love that it's completely online. Rugiet connects you with a board-certified doctor and ships your treatment discreetly to your door. And you can even read real customer reviews on their site. It's helping a lot of people feel more confident and present in the moment. So head to Rugiet.com/LockedOnCollege. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnCollege and use promo code LockedOnCollege for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, and manufacturing review. So please visit Rugiet website for full safety information. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every single day. If you need a second listen, Locked On SEC's place to go. Chris Gordy covering the entire conference during this camp season. And right on the doorstep of the college football regular season, it is here. Farmageddon is this weekend. Over in Ireland, of course, because, that's where they want to play that rivalry. It'll be a fun experience for them, though. Iowa State, Kansas State kicks off week 0. So that'll be fun. That'll be the FCS game of the week, of course. Fresno State and Kansas also play. So I know John Miller's going to be going to have his eyes on that game, on that matchup, because Missouri plays Kansas at some point this year. I can't remember if they open up, but they do play Kansas at some point. So I'm excited, man. We're here. We are here. Fall camp, or what they deem as fall camp, is officially over. They're officially in game prep mode now. So they're prepping, probably doing double duty, prepping for Charleston Southern so they don't get embarrassed. And, of course, they have to be looking at Virginia Tech. So defense, I think, man, when you look at this defense and when you look at what Steve Gregory has to say and what he's been doing, I think reading these practice reports, and those of you that have been able to watch practice can probably tell you that this defensive front especially is loaded. And Langston Patterson is going to drive it, I think. And there's a lot of talent there. There's a lot of talent there. Issa and Glenn Seabrooks, and Glenn Seabrooks are going to be phenomenal on the defensive line. They're probably going to be your starters. Jalen Stone's going to have something to say about that. He's going to be a situational guy. Corday Sidnor is going to be an absolute beast, right? This defense is, I think it's all it's loaded, man. It's absolutely loaded. And the guys that are in these starting units, they're all chomping at the bit. And I think the biggest difference between this year's defense, last year's defense, and the year before, like if you look at the evolution of defenses under Clark Lee, you had for year 1, pitiful. The whole team was pitiful. It just was bad. Year 2, much improved. You had them play with purpose. Year 3, I think, was just a cluster. Year 4, it was great, but you ran out of gas, right? Year 5, I think this is where the excitement is an all-time high. And defensively, I'm fired up about Steve Gregory, man, because, I call it calculated aggressiveness, okay? Because what's going to fire me up is I think when you watch his defenses, you're going to notice this. He's going to, I don't want to call him risk, but he's going to be more aggressive in his play calling. He is going to attack because, A, they're trying to disrupt on first and second down so that they can have a chance on third down, because Clark Lee said it, and it's pretty obvious that if you're facing 3rd and 3 or less a lot, you're going to lose those situations a lot, because that's a hard down and distance to defend, because it ain't far to go. And teams, I don't know if you guys know this, but the teams in the SEC are pretty good. So 3rd and 3, you got to stay out of 3rd and short, or that conversion rate's going to go way up for the offense. So I think being more aggressive and winning better on first down and or second down is going to be crucial. And to do that, you have to be aggressive. To do that, you have to be well communicated. To do that, you have to be on the same page and get guys in the right spot. And I love this quote from Steve Gregory. He had a bunch in his little media day press conference, but I really liked this one. Steve Gregory pictured on the right. Him and Clark Lee are going to make a great tandem there. Clark Lee was very impressed that he's able to pop in and out and not have to worry much. He's able to actually do his job on the sideline. So he was very, very excited about that. Now, he says, Steve Gregory, that is, says, you just got to trust what you're doing in a moment. At the end of the day, to be honest with you, it's a player's game. They've got to go out and execute. They can make a bad call look really good. They can also make a good call look really bad. So we have to trust in and play a certain style of football and go and execute the calls that are given. I'll do my best to put them in the most perfect situation I can, and we just live with it, right? So what that tells me is this. He's going to be focused on getting those guys to the point where execution is automatic. He's going to put those guys in the right place. He wore the green dot for Bill Belichick, just so you know. And so that guy knows defense. If you're wearing the green dot for Bill Belichick, that means something as a player, right? And so he knows defense. He's committed to getting those guys in the right place. And I think in order to be a good third down team, as I said, you have to win first and second down. Okay, that probably is John Madden, right? But in order to win first and second down, you have to be relentless in your effort. You have to be razor sharp in your communication. You cannot have those breakdowns that they had last year. You had a breakdown in coverage, left Colby Taylor one-on-one, thought he had safety help, didn't. You lose to Georgia State. All right. Similar thing. I can't remember if it was against Colby Taylor in that game too, but similar situation. You have a too high safety look where you don't have a second high safety and you get burned over the top. Guys, like, there's nobody within 30 yards of the guy. He catches it. You almost lose to Virginia Tech. Like, there's moments like that. There's moments like in the Tennessee game or in the South Carolina game or just in like down the stretch where, it's third and 10. Like, you do a good job of keeping it in third down, but like then you get conservative on the rush and then some guy's not where he's supposed to be. And there's a massive throwing lane and it's a pitch and catch. It's 3rd and 9, they get 10, first down, right? Those type of situations. Like, I think, and I call it calculated aggressiveness for this reason, because there's a fine line between being aggressive and being reckless. And Steve Gregory's going to toe that line. Okay. He's going to toe that line of calculated aggressiveness where he's going to put guys in the right position. He's going to come after you. He's going to disrupt. He's going to make you miserable. He's going to create nightmares. John Gruden's into nightmares. Steve Gregory's into the same thing, right? I'm going to continue this here right after this break. I'm going to tell you how Langston Patterson fits in all of this. But just, stick around. We're going to continue this. All right, talking about open phone. If you're running a business, every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you probably needed a service. First person didn't answer. Did you wait? No, probably didn't. You moved on. I guarantee you did. You're lying if you say you didn't. That's why you need open phone. So you never miss an opportunity to connect with your customers. Because let's face it, you're doing, it's the number one business phone system designed to streamline and scale your customer communications. I know you've all done the 2-phone juggle. Everyone out there is probably like, doop, 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 2 phones, right? And open phone solves that problem instantly. Your whole team can share one number, respond to customers like a shared inbox. So no more like, hey, you got this? You got this? Okay, who's got Johnson? You got this one? Okay, Davis, you got this one? Okay, yeah, no more of that. And there's an AI agent too that handles after hours calls, answers common questions, and captures leads. So guess what? You never miss a customer again. So you can see why over 60,000 businesses trust OpenPhone. They're offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/lockedoncollege. That's OPENPHONE.com/lockedoncollege. They'll even port over your existing numbers for free. For free. OpenPhone. No missed calls, no missed customers. Speaking of missed customers, PrizePicks. You don't want to miss this either. This episode is also brought to you by PrizePicks, the daily fantasy platform that lets you turn your football predictions into real rewards. Preseason is already heating up, and college football isn't far behind. Whether you got your eye on a big-name quarterback or a breakout running back, maybe PrizePicks makes it easy to get on the game, man. So for this weekend, PrizePicks is offering major max discounts. So max discount number one, Avery Johnson max discount. That's half passing yards. That's 0.5 passing yards, right? Max discount number two is Dak Prescott max discount, right? They're saying half a passing yard. Okay. That's Thursday, September 4th. So that's, these are really good deals. It's just kind of like a freebie. It's like a free square, right? So if you want to add to that, man, I would smash Saquon Barkley on an over with the Eagles. Josh Allen's probably going to hit some sort of over, whatever that over is. He's probably going to hit it, right? PrizePicks is so simple, though, man. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 stat projections. If you get your picks right, you could cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. I've used PrizePicks for a few seasons now, and I love how simple it is. I can get a lineup in before my coffee stops brewing. I could probably do it while I'm I can have my phone in one hand, picking my picks. I could be making my coffee. It's that easy. PrizePicks has a flex option, that's a flex play option. That's a total game changer, man. Even when one of your picks misses, you still doubled your money. PrizePicks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. You don't want to miss this, right? Download PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 play. PrizePicks, run your game. All right, we're quickly wrapping up the show here. Locked On Vandy. Thanks for making us your first listen. We appreciate you, man. I appreciate you. We all appreciate you. Thanks for being, if you are a everydayer, you're really more of a lover. LOV apostrophe R. LOV, Locked On Vandy. Those you keep a score, right? We're going to get used to this. It's a learning process. So, but talking about defense, man, and just talking about just overall, when you look at complementary football, you have to kind of figure out it's this whole balance, right? And I know I wanted to talk about how Langston Patterson is going to drive the defense, but we all know he's just there. He's going to make the calls. He's going to line everybody up. He's just going to be there. He's just going to make the play. He's going to be spectacular, but you're not even going to realize it because he's just there. Number 10 is just there. He's a dude, right? But when it comes to balance, right, you have to have this balance because offensively, you can leave your defense out to dry if you get too aggressive, right? There is that line of recklessness, right? Pushing the ball too far or too much down the field, pushing the ball vertically too much, taking shot plays, taking too many shot plays, where you're like a 13-year-old playing Madden, where you just spam the all streaks, right? You don't want to do that, obviously. And they're not. I'm not saying they're not. But the idea of complementary football is this. If Vandy's going to have this historic season, they've really got to be in tune with this. Some teams can talent their way through, like Ohio State, Texas, even though on the squad show I said Texas wasn't going to make the playoffs. They're a talented team. Georgia, Oregon, whoever. Those teams can just kind of out-talent you a little bit, and they can kind of get by on that. So, they can erase some mistakes. But teams like Vanderbilt, who have a razor's edge margin of error, can't do that. They can't afford a lot of the same things, a lot of the same effects, or a lot of the same mistakes that Georgia can, that Florida can, that Oklahoma can, that Oregon can, that Ohio State can, that Texas can, right? They can't afford those. Obviously they're not going to be perfect, but I think if their defense is not good one night, or one series or one quarter, their offense has to work extra hard to pick that up. And how they do that is probably when they get a chance to get their hands on the ball, they just don't relinquish it, right? Defensively, if teams are going to score, right? Because a Texas they're going to score. You're not going to shut Texas out. You're not going to shut LSU out. You're not going to shut Alabama out, right? You're not going to shut South Carolina out. But the key to that is this. if you can force them to drive 12 plays, the more times they snap the ball, the better it is for your defense. Because spoken from experience, us offensive coordinators as a breed of human are impatient. We are impatient. We do not want to take 10 hitch routes. We're going to push that sucker down the field. It's just the way it is. So you're gonna catch an offensive coordinator being impatient, because offensive coordinators rarely have that discipline. The ones that do are special. You got to hang on to those guys. Like Todd Monken was that way when he was at Georgia. I've never seen anything like it. Like, that dude was a wizard. Like Tim Beck, obviously, his whole philosophy is predicated on that. So like Tim Beck is perfect for this scenario. But the more you have to snap the ball, the better the chances are. Teams like Tennessee, teams like Texas, teams that want to really go, those teams are going to be more prone to mistakes by making them snap it. If they can score in 6 plays or less, they're going to get momentum. They're going to feel good about it. They're going to be hot. That's just the way it is. If you make them score in 12 plays and then you turn around and you make them score in 12 plays again and again and again, they're not going to do that. Like, that's what they did to Alabama last year. They just didn't let them. I mean, Alabama broke through because they're a good team and had some explosives. But for the most part, Vanderbilt's defense made them work. And Bama ended up losing. And Vandy had the upper hand. So that's just kind of what I'm excited about is I think the aggressiveness and the balance of the two philosophies and just the complementary football that I think with Steve Gregory, Tim Beck, the Tim Beck, Jerry Kill pair, I think Clark Lee's going to kind of unite their styles. Like, they both want to be aggressive, but it's got to be calculated. And they've got to be in lockstep with one another. And if they are, it's going to be a magical season, magical historical season. If not, I have no idea what's going to happen. It could be like a unfolded lawn chair flying down a hill. I don't know. It could be an unmitigated disaster. Who knows? What I do know is this is the most talented roster Vanderbilt's had in quite some time, maybe even ever, especially on defense. Offensively, I think this is probably the best they've looked in preseason in quite some time. And it's going to be an exciting run. So buckle up. It's going to be fun. All right. Before we get you into the weekend, I'm going to make some picks. I'm going to pick Farmageddon. I'm going to warm up that segment with some week 0 picks. Even though Vanderbilt's not playing, we're still going to do picks. I'm going to pick games that I never thought possible. So stay tuned for that tomorrow. We're going to talk about more about this whole playoff model, how Vanderbilt can get to 9 games. We're going to talk about that more in depth. I wanted to talk to you about how they need to actually keep Pavia healthy for them to be able to do that. So we're going to assume that they do that, and we're going to look at their path to the college football playoff, because ultimately that's the goal. But until then, we'll see you then. Anchor down. Peace out. Later.